Hey, Bloomies. It's your girl, Chris. And today I have a very special, awesome, and amazing guest with me, Afrovocative. What a name, honey. A name. This young lady is multi-talented. She is a dancer. She is a script writer. She has a mini series. She has a podcast. She is doing all of the things. All of
All
the
of the
things.
things.
All of the things. Tell the Bloomies about you. Tell the Bloomies.
Well, hello, Bloomies. I am Afrovocative. I am a filmmaker. I'm a dancer, just a creative all around. I started filmmaking in 2017 after I graduated from Berkeley College in New York. So, I'm an inner city girl at heart, but a country girl on the outside. And I just do, as Issa Rae said, I do everything.
Okay.
A
And
personal quote from Issa. She said, "Bitch, you do everything." And I said, "And do?
come
And do."
on. You better get the official seal from Miss
Okay,
Issa.
yes. I'm trying to, glow up and be, a little Issa Junior, a little Afro-vocative, big mama. But yeah, I'm a filmmaker. I love film. I love dance, and I love storytelling, and mostly centering stories around Black culture and Black women. And so that is who I am in a nutshell. I'm a quirky personality, awkward Black girl extraordinaire, and I love talking to people. I love connecting. I love my community. And I love currently being single.
All right, my first question for you, because, we're 90s babies, and I am a living single, a different world kind of girl. I will watch it.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what episode or how many times I didn't watch this show. I'm going to stop and watch it. Or if I'm feeling like I just need comfort, one of those two shows.
Yes.
All right, so today, y'all, we can get in juicy and talk about the ghettos of dating in our 30s and how we're trying to get back to ourselves. Like, really, are we really prepared to be dating out in these streets?
Okay.
Because these streets are ghetto. So
They
my
are.
first question for you, so living single, I always identified myself as a mix between Khadijah James and Sinclair. I have the quirkiness and awkwardness of Sinclair, but I have the mama tendencies and just around the way girlness of Khadijah. Which partner did you prefer her to be with? Because when I was younger, I was team Scooter. But now that I'm 35, I feel like she should have stayed with Lorenzo, the teacher.
Okay, so don't hate me.
Oh, no.
I did not watch Living Single a lot growing up. I did watch episodes, but I think I was so young-minded, and I was a Moesha girl. I was a Moesha girl, and my adult show that I watched when I was younger was Girlfriends.
Okay, yes, Girlfriends.
But I know Scooter. I do know the Lorenzo. Is it Lorenzo?
I think it's Lorenzo. Alonzo.
And Alonzo.
It's Alonzo. Damn.
Because I was like, I know it sounds familiar, not for.
Yeah.
But I will say, I do know the actor named Scooter. He was fine.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
was. So
now,
I'm going to say Scooter just because he was fine.
Now, Khadijah.
He played in her face.
He did. Going on tour, not checking on her, coming to see about her. Now, listen, all of them were fine. Khadijah kept her a fine man.
Yes.
And me being the thickums and seeing a thickums girl hold it down, and she was not pulling nobody ugly. She was not pulling nobody of no status. She was pulling them dudes. Okay.
Exactly. It was.
Now, the lover girl in me appreciated their love story because it was very Brown Sugar, because I don't like loving basketball. He did not like that lady. Now, Brown Sugar, they were best friends since they were little. They grew up together. The whole will they, won't they? Are you like brother? I love that.
We love a friends to lover storyline. I love a friends to lover storyline. So
okay, so for me in my relationship-ness, whatever that ever was, I don't think I've ever really experienced being in love. Now that I think about it,
I can agree.
I've dated people, and I would say I've had very strong like. My problem is I'm fiercely loyal. So I think I misconstrued being loyal for being in love, and I was willing to. I'm 10 toes down.
So you were not lying when you said that we are the same, because sister, me and you must have a because literally,
okay.
I feel like, so I've only been in 2 official relationships. I was a late bloomer. I did not 8 in high school, I liked boys, but I wasn't boy crazy. And even once I got in college, my earlier years in college, I just was always like a shy girl. When I really, really was like, oh, I really want to talk to this guy, every now and again, I'd pop out with being like impulsively bold. But
Okay.
I was always too afraid of rejection. So I
Mm,
never really was the type to chase a guy down. And, you know, if they didn't show interest, then I wasn't really, I had to see some type of interest.
yeah.
But I think in my relationships, I always fixated on the person and like getting to know them, what they like, and all these things. And I realized that the thing that I loved about the relationship was the most is that I love who I am.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was the foundation of the relationship. I was the interesting person in the relationship. So I was really in love with myself. And I just thought I loved these guys. But when I look back at our relationship, there wasn't many romantic gestures. There was no thoughtfulness. They were not always kind to me.
Oh,
I thankfully going through therapy had a portion of my life where I really got to really reflect. And it was what pushed me into therapy was me being in a situationship with a guy who was lying to me about getting back with his ex.
oh,
And I, you know, thought like, oh, we rocking together. This guy's telling me he really cares for me, da da da. When he would come in town, we'd see each other. And then I found out that he was back with his shorty, and it broke me, honestly,
yeah.
because I had already gotten out of a really toxic relationship. My second relationship was really toxic. So I thought because he wasn't cursing at me or calling me out of my name, that he was a good guy, and he wasn't. So, you know,
Wow.
so I definitely feel like I've never really experienced true love or even kind love in a romantic sense. But I've been very fortunate enough to have some males in my life who are my friends who have
Yeah.
shown me what good men are. And I've just by being friends with them over the years, two of my friendships I've had for like 7+ years now, I've been able to kind of look at them and see these certain qualities and try to mirror that in some of my partners now that I'm in my 30s and really deciding these are my boundaries, these are my deal breakers, this is what I will not tolerate. Like I
Yeah.
recently had a guy curse at me and I was like, oh baby, you got the wrong one.
That
So it's
part.
blocked because that's where you're going on that
Immediately.
list. Yeah.
Immediately.
And yeah, and even that standard for myself was me seeing Will Smith in a clip, I think on Red Table Talk, where he was like, he didn't like Jada Pinkett cursing at him. And he was like, that was his boundary of like, I grew up in a household where I saw my parents toxic and that's not something I will tolerate. It's weird how sometimes seeing other people set standards for themselves unlocks something in your brain
Yes.
that goes, I can do that too. And so, yeah, that was just one of the things that seeing another person have their own boundary and standard that helped me to shape mine as I'm healing my own childhood trauma and relationship trauma.
Absolutely. I can totally resonate with that. I am a strong supporter of getting mental health assistance and going to therapy. And on my own therapy journey, not very good about having boundaries
It's a
and learning how
learning.
to create those, like, especially growing up in like a single parent household.
Mhm.
Having boundaries felt like it was something that was earned and not deserving.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a learning curve. And I think that when you are a late bloomer, you are
Yeah.
behind the curve. And if you don't date, the one thing that my therapist made me, you know, cognizant of is like when you don't date when you're younger, you don't get to experience in that like space that you're supposed to experience
Yeah.
healthy and unhealthy boundaries in relationships and how to set boundaries and the heartbreak you're supposed to, like those milestones that you should be
Yeah.
hitting them at. So now when you're an adult, you're basically rushing through and playing catch up to experience the stuff that you likely should have experienced when you were in your teen, young adult age.
And for me, growing up, my mom was very much so not about me dating. Being Catholic and then also Haitian. And my mama
Oh,
was not going for
you had
that.
the double,
Girl,
the Caribbean American and the
girl,
Catholic. Oh yeah, girl.
girl.
Bless
And
your
grew
heart.
up in a grew up in a multi I was gonna say mental in a multi-generational household where there's no dating, none of that until you are after 18 or when you're grown, all of this
Yeah.
stuff. So
And
definitely
see,
very sheltered, very, very sheltered. Mm-hmm.
I grew up, no, I was gonna say, I kind of grew up a little bit opposite. I was sheltered because I was a latchkey kid. So
Okay.
it wasn't that my mom was super strict. It was just that me and my brother, after a certain age, it was like, you're in the house by this time. Don't open my door for nobody. Don't answer my phone. My mom, she is I think, quintessential street smarts and book smarts balanced because of
Mm-hmm.
her life growing up. But there were certain things that she would try to teach us about, but didn't want to fully expose us to.
Yeah.
And I think just being a single parent, she kept me from a lot of things unintentionally, not even
Mm-hmm.
intentionally. That, I was a good girl, goody two shoes. I never really pushed the boundaries on, like, how they always say it's the girl daughter that runs you into the ground. Like, no, it was my brother, my
Nah,
older
girl.
brother.
Yeah, for me, I was definitely rule governed. Like, I
Yeah.
was fearful of authority. I knew you better respect the elder. I would
Mm-hmm.
never challenge it.
Absolutely.
And it's just me and my sister. My mom just had two girls, but six grandchildren total.
Mm.
Things definitely became a lot more lenient after me. I think once the people around me realized, oh, we sheltered Chris a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, always hanging out around the elders, being the good kid, it's kind of like you're a child staying in a child's place, but I was still ear hustle. So I've
Yeah.
learned from a very young age to learn about life experiences through other people without actually having to experience it myself. And I
Absolutely.
think that did a major disservice because although I did have social skills when it came to friendships and things like that in school or like with friends I hung out with on the block, but in terms of romance, did not see that. And my mom was one of those like overprotective moms of I'm not going to date, I'm not going to do this out of fear that, she's raising two girls on her own. She doesn't want to bring in all kinds of different people. You don't know who could harm your child. So
Yeah.
I feel like, and my mom, now thinking about it, she was a late bloomer herself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm first generation. So when they came here, it
Yeah.
was just Haitian.
Yeah.
So, and then unfortunately, my grandmother passed at a very young age. So then my mom had to step up in a lot of ways. So it also
Mm-hmm.
added to the delay.
Yeah.
So she just would date, but not anywhere publicly where like anybody
Yeah.
coming to the house or being known to have a boyfriend. Everything was kind of held at like, oh, this is my boyfriend, but at school or like
Mm-hmm.
anytime away from home. So not even in the conventional sense of like being in
Yeah.
a full relationship. It was just felt very
Yeah.
secretive or hidden. Whereas for me, I always tell my mom, like now that we're older, we have these conversations. I feel like I would have done better being able to see my mom date
You know,
like learn. I wish I would have been able to see my mom like fall in love
I
or
think,
have somebody dote over her and just to kind of build in because I didn't have a relationship with my father.
mm-hmm,
So and I was like, dang, if he was in my life, I would have at least seen some kind of example of what like
mm-hmm,
a relationship looks like, or even him as a man showing how to treat a woman so I know what
yeah.
to expect myself.
So I had to shift my perspective on that growing up because my father was not in the house. I did know my dad and I got to see him when I would come to New York. However, we weren't super close and we just started to really rebuild our father-daughter bond
Mm.
over these last few years. And I had a strained relationship with my mother growing up. And I think that stemmed from her not being raised by my grandmother. And at an early age, my grandmother put my mom in a foster home and, not to tell my mama business, but I did grow up seeing my mother date and
Okay.
date all the wrong men. And,
Mm.
so I was, even though I was not in her relationship in a sense of like knowing the ins and outs,
Yeah.
I knew the surface level stuff and I'd never really seen any of my mom's boyfriends treat her bad in a sense, but I knew that their relationship wasn't this peachy keen thing. Now I have seen men pay my mama's rent. I've seen men hand over their whole checks to my mama. And my mom being that street slash book smarts person has always been a woman that made sure her home was taken care of, her
I know
kids were
that's
taken
right.
care of, and she also made sure if her boyfriend had kids, they were taken care of.
Yeah.
And so I grew up with a mom who their kids were her kids. And even if they didn't live with us, she made
Yeah.
sure their kids got Christmas when we got Christmas, even if they were in an entirely
Yeah.
different household. My mom always says out of her two baby daddies, all the other baby mamas always liked her.
Okay, I know that's
Yeah,
right.
so, she was that did. I got to see my mom date growing up, and my mom would always say to me, like, you're really mean, like, you're really harsh on, like, the people that I date. And I remember telling her once I got a little older, it's because I think you deserve better. And
You were
so
very protective.
yeah, I was very protective. And I think also because I wanted to see my mom and my father together. Cause
Okay.
I'm a daddy's girl. Even though he wasn't around a lot, my mom would be like, I love my daddy down, baby. Okay.
Okay.
So
10 toes down.
yeah. And so like, and I've had a very honest conversation with him about why I came to the conclusion right now that I just don't want kids. Is because I was like, y'all were not there in the way that I needed y'all to be there for me as a kid. And
Yeah.
has impacted the type of people I date. It has impacted me wanting to have children because I'm like, I don't want to bring a child into a broken home. Like, and of course, we all have these ideas of what our perfect family is. And life sometimes just doesn't work out that way.
Absolutely.
But I said, I have a choice. So right now, she's not having kids because I really want to be happily married and like, not just married for the sake of being married. I don't want my kids to have a father for the sake of having a father. I want an active.
I want to be with my person.
Yes, absolutely. I want to be with my person, stick it out through thick and thin, and I can identify with you saying that you were loyal. And so a lot of times you took your loyalty as love, and I'm the same way. I am reteaching myself how to leave people when they don't serve me and when they are bringing harm to me because I was the person that would stick it out in a relationship into the bitter end. And I'm like, this is not serving me. It is messing with my mental health. And now I'm sick and this and that and the third. And I am really going through it, teaching myself that when somebody shows you who they are the first time and it is not serving of you in a way that is healthy, maybe leave them. I've had to make that kind of like a model for myself these last few years as I've hit 30 because I said, I do not want to be in my 30s going through what my mom went through. And I think about my mom being 30 with a 10-year-old. And I'm 34 with no kids. So like my mom's 20 years older than me. So when she was 34, she had a 14-year-old. And I'm just like, I love my mama. But I was like, I don't want to end up where her dating life was at that age. And I just want to be smarter about how I date.
Absolutely.
And how I love myself.
I love that. I feel like you're preaching to me and so many bloomies. It just tapping into the heart chakra right now.
I think that's the hardest part as you get older because we have these milestones that are kind of set for us. We talk about how as Black women we are viewed in the world. And then it goes deeper into how we are viewed within our own family dynamic and our ancestry and what the women in our lineage did before us. So it sucks when you feel like, oh, I'm 30 and I haven't accomplished this. I'm not this. I'm not married. And so with my Surviving Single series, the reason why I started off saying, as I enter my mid-30s, society expects me to be a well-accomplished mother and wife. I'm none of those things. And this is how I'm surviving single, manifesting a life of joy or manifesting a life of purpose through joy. Because if your purpose is centered around being a wife and being a mother and all these other things where you have to give, you don't have anything for yourself. And so I really wanted to redefine what self-love meant for me, what it was like to pour back into myself, because those were the things that I wasn't doing in my childhood and in my 20s because I was so worried about people pleasing.
Ooh.
Like a word.
Ooh, something just shot up in my bones, girl. Oh my gosh. I love your intro, by the way. That is a mantra. That is an affirmation. Honestly. Honestly, because I feel like that's the best way of advocating or just being fierce in this space that we're in is to finding joy through your purpose and doing that for yourself is so key because, and again, like what RuPaul will say, if you can't love yourself, how are you going to love anybody else?
Absolutely.
People should be receiving the overflow from you filling yourself that you have so much to give extra and not feel depleted.
And I feel like when you are groomed to, just from a standpoint of patriarchy, as women, we are groomed to give,
serve.
Yes, exactly.
To serve and sacrifice. And that should be enough. And then when you add like the religious aspect to it, a lot of the teachings is that you should be fulfilled based off of you giving. And that if you do anything for self, it's treated as selfish and that it's not humble. You're not grateful. It's all this shame. And it's like, I need to love myself.
Yes.
Because when you love yourself, you have standards. And that's where those standards lead to automatic boundaries. So going back like earlier in our conversation, as somebody who has never had boundaries, I would feel like those instincts. Like you can tell when someone has crossed your boundary, but you might not even know what that is. So now realizing that, okay, maybe I don't have clear cut and dry, like, okay, this is my boundary, like you said, like Will Smith, like sometimes you need an extra, like an external example to show you, oh, okay, this is what I mean, I just didn't quite have the words to articulate it correctly. But you know when something does not make you feel right. It could be the way somebody said something, it could be the tone, anything can trigger something, and that right there is the instinct for you to be like, oh, I think that's a boundary. And so to be able to capture it in the moment and honor those feelings, that is the best exercise for those of you out there who are struggling with figuring out what your personal boundaries are. Start by just taking notice of when anything makes you feel uneasy. And in that moment, just try to see, okay, was it the way this person said something? Was it what they said? And then what is it about me? What is it bringing up in me? It might bring you back to a memory from childhood. It could bring you back to any kind of experience.
Yeah, like that nostalgia or, triggering something in you. I know I recently had to advocate for myself. Like I was saying, the guy earlier that cursed at me, he didn't intentionally ghost me, but I didn't hear from him and like his iMessage was off or something. I don't know, but it triggered my abandonment wound. And I am anxious attachment girly, and I'm trying to.
First of all, I need you to like not be me, because I'm anxiously attached. I'm a perfect mix of anxious attachment and fearful avoidance. My father was not in my life. I did not meet him until I was turning 21. So I never acknowledged having daddy issues, because my thing was, well, you can't miss something you never had. And looking back and seeing other people's experiences with their fathers who weren't in their life or not in a healthy way, I honestly prefer that he wasn't. I feel like it would have done more damage for me to know this person, to have limited interactions with him, and then have that yearning for when he would come back. And when all of this, like, I feel like it cuts and reopens wounds to have inconsistency in the relationship. So for me, it's like, I know I have a father. I know his name, but there was nothing left. And I was blessed, thankfully, to have paternal figures in my life, my grandfather mostly, who kind of filled in that role so I could at least like have that feeling of, okay, this is what fatherly like love feels like. And I'm thankful for that. And I miss him so. He was the one. It's a little bit about me, girl. I love me a Haitian man. It's controversial, honey, and it's tricky. But my grandfather jokingly was like, "You are never to be with a Haitian man." And I always thought that was hilarious, because he was the stand-up Haitian man that I knew. Like, if anything between him and my uncle, like if I'm gonna date a Haitian man, that was who I was gonna look for. Somebody that reminded me of these two. They were like, "Girl, no, don't do it." And then what did I do? Dated a Haitian man.
You went with what
I went with what I know,
what you loved and made you comfortable.
Absolutely. And I will still say I still have a weakness for it, but I know what to be on the lookout for now. But in terms of it just in looking for a partner or like experiences of like dating, I will go for mostly Black men. Or at least like Caribbean, because something culturally, like the music, the food, there's just certain nuances that I don't want to have to explain to nobody. Okay. Like I just want to be able to vibe.
I had a friend tell me that I was not for Caribbean men because I'm mouthy. And I said, I have. Now, when I moved to New York, that was the only time I think I've ever experienced dating Caribbean descent men.
Okay.
Like I outside of New York, I don't think I have run into or dated anybody that was Caribbean. But yes, I have dated a Jamaican. I've dated a Haitian. I've also dated more African. Like I dated a Nigerian man.
Okay.
But he was like Nigerian American, and a lot of them were first generation, second generation.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I was like, ooh, I pop off too much at the mouth, and we argue a lot. I was
but
like,
the thing is, Caribbean women hold up their own too.
I think so
We're
too. So
always
that's why
mouthy. So that's weird. I don't know about that.
Because I'm like, all the Caribbean women, they'll get at you.
Get active.
So I always thought that was so funny when she said that to me, but I kind of believed it. I was like, maybe I'm just, as an American Black girl, just different
maybe
in
that's
like
what
a
they
way.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was always an argument between us, and I was like, I'm gonna have to.
Hello? That part. But the thing is, New York does something different. That tri-state
Yeah.
area,
Oof.
because for me, I prefer Caribbean man.
Hmm.
But if you from up north, it's a
Yeah,
little different.
it
That's
is.
more that sweet spot for me.
Yeah.
But I just think even then, like women, you're also popping off too. So I
Yeah.
don't know why they told you
Yeah.
that.
But I wanted to circle back on something that you were saying
Yeah.
about just your father not being in your life and how that created, fearful avoidance. I think
Oh.
with my dad not being in my life the way that I wanted him to be and not actively being there and consistently being there, it definitely created the anxious attachment
Mm-hmm.
because I was always longing. So
Yeah.
I spent a lot of my childhood and early adult years, and this is the storyteller in me and the lover of like romance films, always fantasizing about what my perfect man was and my perfect relationship. And I
Mm-hmm.
always had a sense of longing for love. And I
Yeah.
remember being really young at an early age, being like 6 and 7, being able to identify when I would cry that I was crying because I was longing for my father. Like I wanted that
Oh.
love. Yeah, I've always
You've always
been
been in
hyper
tune and
aware and yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
hyper aware
Self-aware.
of
Yeah.
like my feelings at a young age. My mom, she's not easily a crier. So I was the sensitive child, and it was
Okay.
always like, what are you crying about? Why are you always crying? And I've had to adjust my perspective and stop telling myself, oh, it's because you're sensitive. No, it's not that I'm sensitive. I just have a different need. I have a different way that I express myself, and crying
Mm-hmm.
is one of those things. When I'm happy, I cry. When I'm sad, I cry. When I'm nervous, I cry. Like crying is my go-to emotion
That's your
for
release.
all things, and it's my release, and it's what recalibrates me and my
Yeah.
focus, and how like one thing about me, baby, I'm gonna get a good cry in. Whether
Really?
yes. Now, as I've gotten older and I've worked on more things, I don't cry as much, but I do like, I was definitely a cry multiple times in the week. And then, when you're dealing with like depression and things, that
Yeah.
intertines and you just be crying a lot. And it's like, and I used to feel ashamed about it. I
Yeah.
used to feel ashamed because it was like, I'm just really sensitive and I need to get thicker skin.
But that's also something within the Black community, unfortunately, is like being the crybaby
Yeah.
and those same stereotypical things of like, why you
Yeah.
crying for? You ain't got nothing to cry about,
Yeah.
especially for little kids, because these are usually parents that really don't have the bandwidth and
Yeah.
they feel like crying too. It's just this weird protection of
Yeah.
like
And I
not
think
showing weakness, so you just don't emote. And so not
common
yeah, for
and across
sure.
the diaspora.
For sure.
And I think that we in our own ways are healing and processing. And now I think with our generation, like millennials and down, I
Mm-hmm.
think we are rebranding what mental health looks like, what self-love looks like, and having a level of awareness and really trying
Emotional
to
intelligence. Yeah.
emotional intelligence and trying to break generational trauma and curses and things that our parents didn't either have the resources, the access to, or the capacity. And
True.
so for me, having to tell my parents like, hey, you went through this thing when you were younger and it's okay. Like, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be upset. So my mother and my father both lost their mothers within a year
Mm.
of each other. This was 2022. So within a
Oh
year,
wow.
I lost both of my grandmothers.
Sorry to
And
hear that.
thank you. And both my parents were also not raised by their mothers.
Oh,
So I always, now this is just the intellectual in me, this is the psychology lover,
come on,
but
bring it out.
I always said, I think that my parents both coming from a space where they were raised by their grandmothers, great grandmothers, and their grandmothers, and not having a deep connection to their fathers there's a trauma there that I have to break. Now, granted,
Mm,
I am close with my mother. And yes, we've had our strained relationship, but I am close with my mom. My mom raised me.
yeah,
But I was able to, when both of my grandmas passed, I was able to kind of look at both of my parents grieving from a similar place. And I was angry for them because I was like, man, like neither of y'all have had the opportunity to really have a real honest conversation with your mothers about how them not raising you
Affected
traumatized
you.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, and how they did not provide you with the love and support you needed, so you did not get to reach your highest potential. And there are things that you probably never had the opportunity to do, or you were stunted emotionally in ways. And as your child, I'm angry for you. I was very numb when both of my grandmas passed, and I think part of it was me like taking on my parents' emotions that they weren't really
And
expressing.
processing it, yeah, for them
And
in order to break that trauma.
absolutely. And so I often think about how has what my parents have gone through and who they are before they are ever my parents affected me as their child. And not just from a surface level and not just from a financial standard upbringing, but from an internal space. So yeah, I definitely feel like my father not being around affected me in the place of it created a longing, and it also created this space of like wanting to get approval of the person that loves me. And I've had to really like deconstruct that, and it has left me in a puddle at times because I'm like, why can't I get this thought out of my head that I don't deserve this type of love, or I shouldn't be receiving this, or so to go back to that question that you asked about, or we're not asked, but when you said about living single, I definitely think I'm a Khadijah, but I would love, and I'm very much a Sinclair, but I would love to be a Regine. I would love to be a Regine because my mama lived in luxury. I mean,
I see that, but Max is that girl.
she is. Max
Career wise, I want Max.
Yes, Max
And
is that girl.
And the thing is, now in terms of like my dynamics, like I've always been kind of like the home girl when it comes to guys. So I have a lot of guy friends, and I can go toe to toe. That's one thing. I've always been witty. So seeing that like Max and Kyle banter, I can do that. My problem is it also happens in dating. And I had saw a post where somebody was talking about like, I don't know if it's like a New York girl thing or whatever, but like flirting by way of roasting.
Oh yeah, that's me. I definitely do that.
And I'm guilty of that, but I'm also like, but don't come for me, because then I don't know the line of when we not playing no more.
Exactly. So don't do that.
So it's like, okay, so if I can't take it, I definitely can't dish it.
Yeah.
But so now being this single 35-year-old woman, honey, I still don't know how we got here. It's tricky. I still very much so feel like I'm in high school. I'm like, how did we get here? Just going through and processing a lot that's coming up for like, as a woman, what is it that I am looking for? What is it that I aspire to? What is it that I've definitely, it's always easier to identify the things that you don't have or the areas that you're lacking in. So I'm trying to make it a more diligent practice recently of acknowledging what is it that you do have.
Yeah.
Because I, much like you, like I didn't really have like the healthy examples of relationship growing up. So my thing was TV and movies.
Yes.
That, and in my imagination, like I would just get lost, and I grew up watching soap operas. And those are the most toxic relationships to see. So it's a good thing to have the balance of like the black sitcoms and things to like, and then black rom-coms and black romantic movies. But it just was so, it grew to be more disappointing the older that I got. Like I still aspire for that these kind of love.
Yeah.
Give me these R&B, give me Neil. So I want my man out there in the rain crying for me, honey.
Yes. And
Give
listen,
me Mario.
so Love Jones and Jason's lyrics is two of my favorite black romance films. And I know we talk about struggle love and all of these things, and we love to break these characters down about why the men were bad for them and what was going on.
Yeah.
But the reason why I will always and forever love Jones is because I think Love Jones is a very accurate depiction of dating as
for sure.
a young 20 to mid 30 black woman.
Yeah.
Like that situation, I think the movie has aged beautifully because I have literally been in that situation with a man where it's like we like each other, but we don't really want to take the step in to become a thing. So here we are dancing around, actually being a couple. We're sleeping with each other. We might go out here and there. neither of us is really taking that step. I think the part about Love Jones that I will always fawn over, and maybe this is just a little toxic of me, but honey, when that man followed her from that, when he got her address from the record store, I don't care what nobody say, I was here for it. I know that the folks hate that,
So
but I was here for
color
it.
me toxic, but I'm just like, that shows that you really see it for
It
your
was
girl.
initiative. It was initiative. He was forward. And then it wasn't even like, yes, he showed up at her door. He did press her a little bit. And I get it. Cause like if a man that I just randomly met in passing showed up at my door, I might be freaked out. But there was chemistry there. I think
don't come to my door,
nuance.
but I love the energy of being pursued.
Yes.
I'm old school. I want to be courted. Yes, if I see somebody, like, I will come up and approach you. I will introduce myself. Like, if I see something, I'm going to approach you. I have no problem with that. But continue the chase. I love the chase. And especially if we have a great interaction and somewhere like a record store, like somewhere so artsy, like clearly that's our baseline common interest. So then you take the initiative to be like, yo, who is that girl? Dang, I didn't catch her. Nowadays it's like, well, dang, I didn't even catch her Instagram handle or her Twitter
people
or
love
something.
to get on in social media now and do like Twitter, do your thing, TikTok, do your thing. They were right there in your face. Why did you not speak to them?
Like, I know, but the lover girl in me, I'm kind of here for those threads. I'll be following up too. I'll be like, oh, come on, investigative work. Shoot, sometimes I'll get involved too, depending on where they at. I'm like, oh, wait, let me see the interest. But I will investigate myself too. I'll be like, oh, wait, what did he say his name was? Or I'm always like, most people tag the places that they've been at. Especially if it's like a popping spot. So I will quickly go on Instagram and look up that establishment's page and see if they've been tagged or they share a story. Girl, I'm committed. But like, if he's fine, and we clicked.
Yes.
I'm looking for you.
I say all of that to say, like, Love Jones is my favorite because that line where he says, like, this love is urgent. You know, I've always wanted that in my relationships, like urgency about loving me and an urgency to show up for me and be the things. And I think that had also created this wound of longingness for love because I wasn't seeing that reflected because I was always the girl next door. I'm the homie. People that know my brother were always like, oh, that's so-and-so's little sister. Like, I'm not going to talk to her because that's so-and-so's little sister. And me being baby face, small voice, it was always like, oh, you're, and Goody Two Shoes, like, oh, you're so cute.
Or like you're innocent. Yeah, like you're innocent. Like nobody wants to interrupt or mess with your innocence when you're like, this is, I'm cute.
Yes.
But you could come see about me, honey.
Okay.
So for me, I can relate with that. Another layer for me, and that was more my self-esteem issue, was being a chunky girl. I've always been heavier. So for me, and then that added layer of being sheltered, I just kind of saw my weight as protection. Because I was not being categorized as fast. I was not being nobody was gonna mess with me. And I didn't realize until I was a teenager that I was just like, oh, they're not checking for me or they're not worried about me and like teen pregnancy because nobody's looking for the big girl.
Yep. You are so correct about that.
It was like all the skinny girls or the curvy girls. They were just kind of like, those are the ones that they were being sheltered or like secured in a different way. Where my mom, I feel like she rested on the fact of like, oh, well, you know, she's just like this little teddy bear. Like nobody, I don't have to worry about her in that way. But that said, you're still a teenager. So I'm just going to show you all the pictures and all the things about STDs. And then, you know, and then 16 and pregnant and teenage pregnancy scared the hell out of me, girl. Till this day, I'm fearful of being a teen mom.
Teen mom and 16 and pregnant worked on me. That shit worked on me.
So much like you, like I've always been into boys. I've always I don't know if I've been like boy crazy. Definitely more so in high school because when them boys were wearing them 2Ts and they were musty as hell and overspraying it with Axe, but let you be like, can I get a hug? Who was hugging back? I was giving you a hug.
When I got to high school and boys
I was meeting you like, in between classes, honey. We gonna get this musty hug.
No,
and because I prefer taller dudes, my shoulders would be funk, honey. Just be all up under there, Care Bear.
Yeah.
But younger than that, like I've had crushes or boys that would like express their interest, but it was never like the actively whole, oh, when little boys like girls, they chase them or they hit them. It was like, you're cool as a friend, but it was just like, that chubbiness somehow protected you from all of that.
Yeah, when I watch the kids now, like when I'm on TikTok and I like social media, and I see the teenage kids now have like is bringing them flowers and they're doing promposals.
I never had
and all
that.
this stuff. I'm just like, dang, where was the boys at? Like, you know, but then I did see girls. Now I didn't see many of the black girls because I went to a predominantly white and Hispanic school.
Okay.
And I didn't see many of the black girls getting that. But, you know, I definitely saw the little white girls, them boys, them football players bringing them their flowers and all this stuff. And,
those
you know,
candy grams and stuff for Valentine's Day.
Yes. And it would have, like, dang, it would have been so nice. But the one thing that if I could ever go back and teach myself then what I know now is that as a woman who is a girl's girl, who has always highly centered women and valued women in my life, I wish I could go back in high school and say, find your girl tribe that is always going to be 10 toes down for you and blossom that and grow that. Because, you know, I've always, and no matter what space I've ever been in, whether that was middle school, high school, college, just living in New York, and now even now relocating to Arizona, I will always find a group of women.
Yeah.
Even if it's just 2 women, 1 or 2 women, I will always find a girl that I'm down for, and we gonna go eat lunch together. We're baby, I'm your man. We're dating. Like that's really what it is with me and my homegirls. Like, I am a lover girl, and so I don't have a man to pour that into. So I pour it into myself, and I pour it into my friends, and that's why for me, I very much value my friendships more than my relationships, honestly. Like, I pour so much of myself into my friendships.
I strongly believe that your soulmate doesn't necessarily have to be like who you're attracted to romantically. You can have so many different soulmates. I have never heard that perfectly articulated, but yeah, now that I think about it, like my upbringing, like everything has been woman centered. I value women and my female friendships because I grew up seeing that with my mom and her cousins and her homegirls, friends till this day. And I'm very much so that way.
Yeah.
I've been blessed and fortunate to have my best friends in my life since middle school. Like, we're still riding this thing out. And I'm just thankful that, I mean, yeah, we had our little moments, but I can honestly say we've never let any guy interrupt our friendship. We've never fallen out over a dude. Like, if anything, we become more protective of each other when a guy comes into the picture. And then we'll even fall back. We're like, okay, she's in her phase. We're going to step back a little bit, but we're going to watch.
Yeah. And that's why I think for sure, like growing up, I've just always been a girl's girl. I've always felt the most comfortable around women, myself around women, even when I felt awkward about things. And so I do feel like me and my best friend, we've always joked about Grey's Anatomy, like she's my person. We've always said that to each other. And prior to her getting in her current relationship and having a baby, we used to always say, like, if we find ourselves like 30 something with no kids, we're going to go get in vitro together and we're just going to raise our kids together.
Just have a commune.
So, you know, even when she had my godson, you know,
he is so adorable, by the way.
Thank you. That's my baby.
The way he loves on you is so cute. He just be up on you, child.
Yeah, that's my baby. And so when she had him, you know, I had experienced being pregnant and I terminated, and it was very traumatic for me. And it was in my early 20s, in my first relationship, very toxic relationship. And I was like on my way to graduating and I was in my last year of school. So I chose to terminate because I was like, hey, I need to graduate and I can't have a baby right now and all these things. So it left a wound for a really, really long time that took forever to get to the place of heal. Like comfortable to talk about it and heal. So when she had him, she was like, well, this can be our baby. And he is. And when she's not here, I'm with him. And, you know, like when his daddy's not here, he is with me. And that's my baby and I love on him. And having him and also having my little brother who is 24 years younger than me.
Wow. Your mama started her over, honey. Over.
So having both of them.
That's your first baby.
No, it is. Literally, like, and they're both Scorpio boys. They're both Scorpios. They are literally a day apart from each other, but they're years. So they're like 7 years and a day apart. Yes. Yeah, that's my baby.
I currently don't have children. I still don't know where I want to be with children? I mean, I'm 35, so I should probably have an answer, but I feel like I've never been one of those girls like growing up of, oh, I see myself with all these kids and this and this and this. I feel like I said a lot to just kind of get along because that was the expected
That's what
thing. To be like,
everybody else was
I want to be
saying.
a wife and I want to be a mom, but being the oldest, or even in your situation of being the only girl, there's so many ways that we get to exercise our maternal instinct and that maternal energy, whether it be like with friends' kids or like younger siblings, godchildren, or even in our line of work, like working with students or anything like that. Like you get to mother in so many different ways.
Absolutely.
And as an aunt, you get to exercise that. I don't know that I necessarily want the responsibility.
So that's the same thing that I have said. And like every time the kids at my job are getting on my nerves a little, I'll be like, oh, I'm so happy I get to go home and I don't have no babies. That has made, it definitely makes me more appreciative of if I do choose to become a parent. It definitely makes me more aware and like, okay, I definitely want to, take my time, which is why I'm very sure I'm like, I don't want kids. However, I'm open to them. If I meet my person and I meet the person that I feel like is going to be an amazing father, an amazing husband, and we have a great relationship and this is forever, I'm open to having babies. Now, I've always said, because I grew up with just my older brother, that I would like 3. That's always been my number. And it's because I have been praying since I was a little girl that God would give me twins or triplets. That's the thing that I've always been very like this. Like, consistent I know I want twins or triplets, and it's because I don't want to get pregnant multiple times. I'm so afraid of childbirth.
That part, oh my God, girl.
I don't have
and I already have terrible cycles, so I could not imagine contractions being worse than that. Now, the older that I've gotten, like I would have to say, like I experienced a little bit of baby fever, like my late 20s, around 27, 20. Baby post, I was like, oh my God. And I feel like my ovaries like, let's do it. But the older that I've gotten, it's just like, if it's meant to be, it'll be. I'm not forcing it. So even when it comes to like dating and like being on the dating apps or whatever, honestly, the people that I seek preferably are guys that don't have children.
Yes,
and it's tricky because the older we are, that's not likely. Like the pool automatically cut in half, if not more than that. So, or if you do have kids, maybe one, but you can't be younger than like 7 because I feel like there's feelings there, or I need to know how long ago you and the moms broke up.
We are definitely the same in that because I don't date men with kids, and I always get backlash about it. But I'm like, I don't have children, so why would I date a man that has kids?
I don't feel like what I'm asking for is crazy.
You being a father does not mean that you are an active dad or a good one.
That part.
And I get it, like, oh, well, you're more inclined to find out if they already have kids. But my thing is, like, I think that mixed family dynamics are beautiful. I come from one, but I think that it is tough. And respectfully, I just think that if it doesn't work out, now I'm attached to this baby that I love. And now I can't even probably see them
or it's not my place to be there. Me and the mom could totally get along.
Yes.
But it's like if me and the dad, like that was our connection and we're no longer together. So like, damn, now I want to, that's my baby now. What do you mean?
Yes. And I definitely keep a standard for myself. I'm like, if I am going to date a man with a kid, his kids have to be older. Because I had a little boo thing for a while. He had older kids like 9 and 11, and he was a single father. Now, I will date a single daddy. If the mama ain't in the picture at all, and you literally like, nah, I raise these kids, they mine, I take care of them, so custody parent, I will date a man that is like the custodial parent, and especially if I see that they're like an active father. Dad. Because then, hey, like I know you got practicing, and more than likely you're not in the market to have another kid. Like you're like, oh, I have my child.
Yeah, so there's no pressure because now that we're older, there's fertility issues. Can I even get pregnant? So that is, I would have to say, the downside of like looking to date a guy who doesn't have kids, especially if he wants kids. Because now me not really being sure, I'm like, if it happens, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not like staunchly like, I'm going to freeze my eggs. This
Yeah.
is the plan. We're
Yeah.
doing all of these things. So that there is that dynamic. I should probably, Carmine, my therapist, gonna have a lot to talk about after this.
Yeah.
But
But it's the thing that, when you don't really have that conversation with other people, you don't always think about it. It doesn't cross your mind as
yeah,
much. Because, girl, tell me why, just a few weeks ago, I went on there to see, like, can I sell my eggs? And I done passed the whole window. I said, dang, why I didn't know this when I was younger to, like, be.
I don't know if I want to sell my eggs because I feel like somebody gonna walk around this earth kind of looking like me.
But, I mean, I was just kind of like, hey, if they make good money, I might as well.